All right, we are back with Dungeons and Dragons Rules Cyclopedia, and in this video, we are going to cover the Dungeon Master section. It's not a big section. It's not like an entire Dungeon Master's guide, but it gives a lot of little information on XP, relics, and just the various things that you're going to come up with in the game. I barely skimmed it a while ago because I wasn't prepared to do it this week, so we're going to kind of read through it. We're gonna learn me some things on here. But I do remember that there are going to be vast portions of this video that we skip because it's either going to be redundant or just generic. But there are going to be some features of this section that we're definitely going to dive into and read and discuss a little bit. So, without further ado, let's just get into that. Boom. So 45. 45. You live in an area long enough to get the accent. Yeah, so I lost my Minnesota accent. Yeah, the people watching this video just started like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, sorry, there's a little conversation that started in between segments here, but I'll be with it quick. Yeah, me joining the Air Force and living in New Mexico and in Korea and basically being around a lot of people who weren't Minnesotans just caused my accent to fade away. I lost it very quickly. In fact, the first time I went home after like a year, I didn't have it anymore. I just lost it completely. And, other than the things that you can't lose, and I just never got it back. Even when I lived in Minnesota, I didn't get it back. Most of my friends don't really have a Minnesota accent anymore. My parents do a little bit, but yeah, it's fading. It's unfortunate though. And all right, so for the people who came here for a video, let's actually talk about Dungeon Master. Was it Dungeon Master procedures? All right, ability checks. During the play of game, a player will eventually try something not explained in these rules. In most cases, the character's action could pertain to one of his ability scores. A character trying to walk along the top of a very narrow wall is using his dexterity. A character trying to move the huge boulder blocking the corridor is using his strength. In such situations, have the character roll 1d20 against his pertinent ability score. If he rolls equal to or less than the ability score, he has successfully performed the task. If he rolls greater than his score, he has failed. When the task looks exceptionally easy or difficult, the DM can modify the attempt by adding a bonus or penalty to the number the player rolls on the d20. This whole process is called an ability check. See also section on general skills in Chapter 5. These rules provide alternative ways to resolve special situations. This is just core to old school D&D. One of those times when you want to roll low. I did the system that I called the Price is Right method, which is you want to be closest to the number without rolling over. So instead of making one like the critical success, if you even use that in your game, obviously there's no rule that even says you have to do that. But if you instead of making one the critical success, if you had a strength of 14, I made 14. Just punch my microphone because reasons. I made 14 the critical success. That's just the way I did it. But yeah, ability check is a way to absolutely just get the game moving without worrying about what type of skill you may or may not have. Especially in an old school D&D game. Aging in the D&D world, disease, blind. Now this is, man, Heathen Dog wants to be here for this one because Heathen Dog talks a lot about aging rules in games, right? In the D&D world, disease, blindness, and other afflictions can be easily cured by clerical spells. Furthermore, the Raise Dead and Raise Dead Fully spells seem to bestow near immortality. This is not quite true. Characters' aging should be a carefully restricted element of the game. When a character reaches the end of a long natural lifespan, magical means of prolonging or restoring life should have little or no effect. What? Can't find the Fountain of Youth? Kidding me? A raise spell should only restore the character for a brief period of time. So basically, if you die of natural causes, but you haven't told everybody where your secret storage locker is, they'll bring you back so you can give that information. But ultimately, yeah, you're dead. The following ages are recommended as the maximum for character races. So 95 plus a 2d12 for humans. I'm sorry, but I think that's too high. Even in a 20th century world, I didn't like those numbers. I get it's a nice, easy number, but I understand. Anytime I say something like, well, life was hard back then and people only lived until they were in their 30s and 40s, everybody spurgs out like, that's not true. That's only because of this. That actually is partially true. I'm using it for effect. And no, child or infant mortality rates didn't figure that entire thing. People lived shorter lifespans then because they couldn't cure diseases that they can cure now. All right. Now, with that said, my myopic eyes, what would I do in a world where I can't even see my microphone right now? All right? So yes, there are things I could have done. I could have been a scribe with my face like this, but I would have had to been trained for that. Could my family have afforded that? I don't know. I couldn't have been a carpenter, which is what my family was in Germany. Going all the way back, there are farmers and carpenters. I couldn't see a chicken to cut its head off. I really couldn't. So yeah, I mean, so there are things that that you need to take in consideration that I think that's too high for human, but for nice easy numbers, that's okay. I liked for me what I did was 50 plus 2d20. I know there's like 50 plus 2d20. Yeah, that gives a pretty big range because humans have a pretty big range. There are people right now in the 21st century dying of cancer in the 50s. Val Kilmer, as I do this, died this week at 65 of cancer. I consider 65 young. So yeah. Anywho, a potion of longevity does remove 10 years of aging, but the DM may apply any restrictions as desired. For example, the potion might only affect unnatural aging. Each living creature might only be able to drink 5 such potions in a lifetime. Each use might have a chance of creating a reverse effect. I love that one. I always love magic with possible oopsies. Now, let's go back up here. These are called DM procedures, okay? It's not saying you have to do any of this. What these rules in here for, whether it's the ability checks, it's kind of a memory jogger, or reminding you for like aging that you run the game. You don't have to just let characters come back. There's a lot of different things to consider. If you just go by the rules of the spell, yeah. But sometimes the verisimilitude needs to trump just what the particular rule of the game says, because the particular rule of the game is meant to resurrect you during combat, so to speak, and not, after you've hit age 90. Anywho. All right, sometimes a player forgets or ignores the alignment of his character and plays the adventure incorrectly. Wait, plays the adventure incorrectly? I don't even like that. I definitely don't like that verbiage. But I get the alignment portion of it, okay? You should talk privately with the player about the problem and encourage the proper play of alignment. Remember, alignment is important. I don't care what 5e players say. Alignment is important in Dungeons & Dragons. Personally, I don't like alignment. If I do use alignment, I like Palladium's alignment. It's the best, by far, without exception. I really am not a fan of alignment. But if you're playing Dungeons & Dragons, you kind of need it. And there are various reasons why you need it, especially in this version of the game. How your character progresses through the levels is affected by your alignment. Magic items like intelligent ego weapons are affected by your alignment. Alignment is important. If you're hand waving it, you're basically playing a different game. Never do this during the game. Deal with the problem in private. If the problem continues after you've warned the player more than once, you may tell the player to change the alignment of the character to an alignment actually being played. You may assess a penalty to the character at this time, such as the loss of 1 experience level. I think in 2nd edition it was 2, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that. It's been so long since I've done it, and I very rarely had somebody change alignment. Yeah. How do I forget things? You didn't forget things. You're just unsure of yourself. It's not about forgetting. It's about being unsure. You're not as good because you're more unsure of who you are. Remember too that you have not changed the character's alignment. The player has by playing his character as a different alignment. Sometimes players will change their character's alignments for appropriate reasons. If a character is affected by a helm of alignment changing or other cursed treasure that affects the alignment, then obviously the player had no choice. Also, events in the life of a character might force the player to reevaluate the character's personality and play him differently. That happens in the real world, right? So long as he plays the new alignment well and consistently, there should be no problems. If you penalize alignment changes, you should also reward good alignment play by awarding more experience or treasures. I do the experience. I absolutely, if you are playing within your character's ethos and alignment and doing it in a way that's not disruptive, I will even say this. If you play against your character's alignment, but do it in a way that your character recognizes this, the real simple one, we all know Star Wars, right? If not, you should know Star Wars. When Obi-Wan uses the blaster to kill Grievous, and he says, "Oh, how uncivilized." Things like that. Little things like that to show that I didn't want to do this. This is against my character, but it was the resource I had available to me at that time. If you are intentionally letting your party get killed, if you're intentionally doing things, well, this is what my character would do, in a manner that's disruptive to the game, no, you don't get experience points for that. But good roleplay, in an old school D&D playing within your alignment, absolutely is worth experience. Anti-magic effects. Magic can sometimes be weakened or altered so that it's canceled or partially functions. This phenomenon is called anti-magic. Anti-magic is stated as a % chance the magic will not work in a given area. I think this is the first time we're seeing this in this book. I know in the second edition has this crap all over the place. The first encounter with anti-magic for most PCs occurs when they confront a beholder. Okay, so it's directly related to creatures, at least as of now. Yeah, I mean, I know second edition for sure has creatures that are magic resistant, like 40% magic resistant. And oh, if that doesn't work, then it gets a saving throw. So the beholder's anti-magic ray is 100%. Magic will not work within the ray. Just that's the way it is, yeah. And if it's like second edition, it's a 45 degree. So why it exists, don't care. We're not going to read that. Magic affected. I think that's all we're going to read on anti-magic. I mean, it's a really fun section, but I just don't think we have to read all of that. Maybe we'll actually do an example or two instead. Yeah, let's look at a potion. Because some people be like, how can a potion be affected by it? Well, can it? Let's find out. An immortal comes with anti-magic range. Comes within anti-magic range of a potion of flying. The potion is deactivated and becomes non-magical flavored water. If consumed during this time, the water has no effect and all benefits are forever lost. If not consumed, the liquid again becomes a standard potion of flying 1 turn after the immortal departs. Okay, so somebody, the immortal character, remember this is based on Beckme, so that I in Beckme is immortal. So a god, a demon, your character who's playing immortal play has his anti-magic aura. Somebody in your group or next year, whatever, has that potion of flying. Well, while you're there, it's just water. But 10 minutes after you left, is it 10? Oh crap, I forgot. It's 10 minutes for a turn in basic, right? Or in Rule Cyclopedia? I know we had an entire video where we covered that and I already forgot. But I think it's either 10 or 15 minutes, I forget. But if it's not consumed, then 1 turn, boom, it becomes a potion of flying again. But it takes a little time. So then it's got personal spell effects. I know it talks about polymorph in there, but I'm not worried about it. There's the beholder eye, and I'm sure he's not a happy camper right now. And then area of effect. Okay, arguments and complaints. I'm only going to read charm person spell. We're not going to read charm person spell. Actually, I know what this is going into. It actually talks about what intelligence to make people and how long the charm should last. I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about arguments and complaints because I think this is one of those things that I want to see how this book covers it. But we cover it a lot in like the Friday night streams, but we very rarely talk about it. At least I believe we do. Maybe we do, and I just don't recognize it on the Sunday stream. So if an argument starts during the game, stop the game for a moment. Listen to both sides and make a decision. Then continue the game as soon as possible. Do not allow an argument to continue for long. Explain that everyone is trying to have fun and that the argument can be settled after the game if necessary. Yeah, most of them should be after the game anyway, but if it just can't be done. Ultimately, I'll just tell you right now, the Dungeon Master's right. That's just the way it is. But the Dungeon Master is right. If a player complains about the way you're handling something in the game, try to listen to the objection. Be reasonable. He might be right. If you can fix the problem by changing a procedure, try to work out a reasonable compromise. For example, if a player says, you keep killing characters with poison, you might try reducing the number of poison traps or monsters you have in your campaign. Or the players can start buying some resist poison trap. I don't know, just saying. Get a couple potions out there. Or maybe the cleric can actually start memorizing is it remove paralysis that you get automatically with Cure Light Wounds? I think it is. So, get the remove poisons. Your poison spell, maybe you have that. Maybe meditate on that spell, Mr. Cleric. Be careful not to change rules that could overbalance the game in favor of the characters. The game system is carefully balanced to provide fun for all while challenging the characters. Some complaints may be caused by a player's greed. It should not be too easy to get treasure or experience. Me keeping them poor, it says it right there, I'm allowed to do it. These things should be earned slowly using the guidelines given. Beware the giveaway, aka Monty Hall games. I don't hear anybody use that term anymore. Man, everybody used that term back in the day. That term was so overused, I got angry with it. Like, oh yeah, Monty Hall, okay, yeah. Yeah, the Monty Hall games, man. What's behind door number 3? Your players may quickly become bored with easy riches, and their characters will easily overpower most monsters. If you're not sure how to handle a situation, just tell this to the players. Everyone has to learn, and learning a game like this can be a slow process. This goes back to some of the Palladium stuff that we've talked with people about. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. You'll learn it as time goes on if it's important, or you'll come to your own methodology of resolving whatever issue you're having. It's okay. Be fair, reasonable, and consistent. And by fair, when I say fair, usually I just say reasonable and consistent, but sometimes I have to throw fair in there. Reasonable and consistent means even if the other person doesn't agree with you, as long as you're coming from a place that makes sense, great. Or it might just make sense for the time. Why did this weird thing happen that shouldn't be happening? That anti-magic area, right? Or maybe it's a high magic area and your spells are going all crazy and you don't understand what's going on or why. I'm not going to always tell you why. It's for you guys to figure out. You might not like it, but that's what it is. But also be consistent. If it works for the NPCs, it works for the PCs. If it works for the fighter, it works for the wizard. Unless there's a specific rule that says otherwise in that. Don't just, give the NPCs a +2 for being on the hill, but not giving it to the PC. Well, it doesn't say in the book. You've got to be fair on that and consistent. But it's okay to learn and it's okay to make mistakes. It's a game. Remember, it is a game. And by the way, some people use the term, some people are trying to win. Yeah, you're not. You know what the winning of a role-playing game is? The winning of a role-playing game is being there and being immersed in the experience. Some people say it's being there and hanging out with your friends. Fine, if that's your way of winning, then that's not my way of winning. There are people I don't know that I'd rather play Dungeons & Dragons with than some of my best friends. For me, it's being immersed in the setting, the game, and everything that's going on. So as long as that's happening, I don't care if a dungeon master changes a rule on me, as long as it doesn't ruin everything that I've had, lined up to this point. And then we'll talk about it. But anyway, your players will understand if you explain that you made a mistake. Yep, absolutely. And that's happened, many times. Like, oh crap, I read that wrong, whatever. Sound and fair recommendation for ways you can handle a situation. When you admit your mistakes and try to correct them, you and your players have a better game in the long run. Or you know what? I agree with this. You admit your mistake and try to correct them, but maybe you don't want to correct it. Maybe for the verisimilitude of your setting, of your world, you don't want to correct. No, here, because you're playing in a desert setting, yeah, I'm making water only worth half. And it costs twice as much, or something, So you have to drink twice as much water, and it costs twice as much. Whatever. Well, that's not fair. Well, yes, it is. Heat exhaustion is a thing. Worse yet, a jungle, man. All right, let me read some chat here, and then we'll move on to next stuff here. Let's see. See. Can't have my stuff. I'm taking it to the grave with me. All right, well, Raven Slayer, I'll dig your grave up, Raisin. It's natural cause I want to cover heart attacks, breaking hip bone. Okay, stop it. Zonalar, don't be Mar Hawkman. I don't care about the encyclopedic definition. Sometimes we say things here to have fun and get people spun up. Apparently, there. And Shatner's another closer to 100, right? No, we get that. It's a game, but the point is, like I said, I get people that spurg out on me over the ideas like, no, the actual life expectancy of people is the same. No, it was not the same. It literally was not the same. Now, was it as bad as what a lot of people say? No, but I like spinning that here to remind folks, a lot of hyperbole here, to remind folks, hold on, what setting are you playing in? If you're playing in Forgotten Realms, I absolutely would say, characters could be 100 years old, if not more, because Forgotten Realms is so high magic and everything goes there. It's fine. If you want to say that you're setting that orcs live longer than humans, go for it. Let's see. I'd love to have a different system. 50 plus 2d20, but every year beyond your contract. Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that do different things. I have a friend of mine who does something similar to what you said, as a matter of fact. He does some sort of con check, and I forget what it is. Yeah, it's off the top of my head, I cannot remember what it is. But if you fail, now you roll. How does he have you do this? You roll, but you roll it privately, so you don't know the number. And then he knows that sometime during that year, your character sometime during that year, your character dies of natural causes. Once you hit that certain age, which I think in second edition it was like 90 or some crap, I forget. You know. So yeah, see, I'm 62 except for arthritis. Likely to live at least another 24 years because I take after my mother. Yeah, so I have that going on too. If I take after my dad's side of the family, I'm dead in like what? I'm 51. I'm dead in 15 years. If I take after my mom's side of the family, I've lived half my life right now, at maybe half my life, and I'm 51. So yeah. Doing alignment until they become relevant. Yeah, I disagree with you on that. Then you're playing the wrong game. Don't play Dungeons and Dragons if you want to ignore alignment. Again, I think you said you play 5e though, and 5e isn't Dungeons and Dragons, so do what you want. See, I also hated that phrasing. Oh yeah. See, I made alignment a big deal and decent. Oh, a Descent into Avernus. I've only played like the computer version of that. Or going strong. Congratulations on Mum. I've thrown alignment. See, I don't, but I get where you're coming from. You know, I could put this stuff on the screen. I don't know why I'm not. Oh, because it's harder to read over here. Yeah, I'm used to the 9 alignment system. I just don't like Dungeons and Dragons alignments in general. It is definitely simpler. The 3 alignment system, Law, Neutral, Chaos, is absolutely simpler. You get into less arguments, that's for sure. I just played so much with the 9 alignment system, but then every single player in Dungeon Master has a different meaning of what some of that means. Even if it's codified in a book, you get the well, but I think it, you know. Grandpa made it to 99. Is a great man. That's awesome. Congratulations. Mine made it to 91, but he offed himself, so I don't know how far he would have made it. My grandma made it to 93, or I'm sorry, 98. Alignment-wise, I played mostly chaotic neutral rogues. Yeah, I don't allow chaotic neutral in my games. The reason is experience. My experience is that chaotic neutral, if I have a neutral evil player in the group, that person is more tolerable than the chaotic neutral player. In my experience, the chaotic neutral player is looking to just be disruptive. You know, that, but then again, that's my experience. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to be that way. I need every player on board. That's not a character player. Yeah. There's a lot of player versus player issues. But a lot of this stuff, you know what it didn't say here in this section? Arguments and complaints, is how a lot of this stuff can actually float into player issues. Arguments, I've seen argument, I think when you were on the show on Friday, if I remember correctly, I don't know if you were the one that said it, but I think it was. I've seen arguments at the table, especially in the past, not so much recently, turn into friendship issues. That, especially back when I was in high school. Never knew what a Monty Hall game is. Yeah, Monty Hall comes from an old game show. Oh my God, what was it called? I know it was like, what's behind door number 3, Monty? I can picture it. I cannot think of the name of it right now, though. Maybe somebody in chat can put it in there. But Monty Hall was the name of the host. Acidic rain removes, you know. Oh yeah, displacer, not displacer. Be sorry. Carrion crawlers and rust monsters. Need to find your grave. Yeah, that's fair. You know, you're gonna become old enough and you're gonna have this. You're gonna forget things. And so I'll just convince you to tell me. I will end up being the person that runs your estate, and you won't even know it. I like the alignment as a cosmic thing, like Elric stuff. Yeah, you know, I've heard that term a lot, and I actually agree with that in concept for Dungeons and Dragons as well. The thing is a lot of players don't get it. I'm not even sure I fully do. I mean, I think I do, but I generally like it as well. The other problem with the cosmic aspect of it is then players find way too many gray areas. You know, one of the things I started using for a lot of my AD&D second edition campaigns is if you go to first edition AD&D, Dragonlance Adventures, the hardcover book, has got a morality chart at the back of it. I use that. Let's make a deal. There you go. Let's make a deal. Yeah. The biggest difference. Again, you're harping on one thing, and that's not fully true, Rafael. It's just not true, okay? I do know that life expectancy wasn't 30 years old. I love saying that just to get people spun up. But no, people did not consistently live into their 80s. Cancer, heart attacks, things that we handle that we can handle better now, absolutely have raised life expectancy. So no, they did not live as some people did. Absolutely, but not nearly in the numbers now. Look at the 100-year-olds. What was that TV show? It was on NBC, the Today Show, I think it was. They used to do all the 100-year-olds that turned 100 that day and be like 3 of them. It got to be so many they stopped doing it. Life expectancy just changes over time. I love to tell people that it was 21 years old and so forth because it just gets them spun up, and then I think it's funny. But life expectancy absolutely grew in the 20th century. 100% without a doubt. You can look at the numbers on that. It just wasn't from 20 to 85. like I like to say it is, you know. Unless I'm misreading your comment there, because it seems like the one after that, whatever. Anyway. No, wasn't The Price is Right? That was Bob Barker. Let's see. It's just funny, and it doesn't matter what the topic is. I got these little comments going out there, these call them trolling posts, and the people, I can't believe how rude you are. Because I made a poll that says, why do you hate metagaming? Because you're a horrible player, you can't do math, whatever. I hate metagaming. It was calling me out. Got to stop taking some of this stuff so seriously. Was it Mar Hockman earlier? Had to be all encyclopedic on what a tiefling is? I don't care. A lot of what we do here is to get you. What did you just say? How many times have Heathen Dog and I argued over the dumbest crap? You reach adulthood, you have a decent chance of living bottles. That is not true. That is not true. If you're talking into your 50s and 60s, yes. If you're talking into your 80s and 90s, no. No. Often you play, says, often your players die in games that try to be consequentials, but even games with, die every 30. I die when it comes, they die when it comes up. If something happens, and the character dies, I always leave it out, though. Even if it's a trap, I leave it out. Maybe another character has to risk his life to come get you, and you both could feasibly, very easily die, or he can get you. But I don't give you like 17 rolls or whatever else. Or what else do people? 3 death saves or anything like that. You've got to. If your hit points reach 0, you're dead. Now Earth Dawn has this thing. Yep, talking about Earth Dawn again. Has this thing called Last Chance Salves. Do you have one? Groups I ran always kept one in their possession. They'd save up for that. Forget spells, forget armor. Somebody save up for a last chance salve. Okay. They'd use that. That's still not a guarantee of returning. And then they got to go buy one to replace it. So, someone in medieval, my father ate meat all his life and died at the ripe old age of 38. Okay. I love saying stuff like that, crafting. I'm going to put that on the screen. I love saying stuff like that because it really gets people bent out of shape. There we go. On the screen. Someone in the medieval age. My father ate red meat all his life and he died at the ripe old age of 38. They just lived a lot more diseases and all this other nonsense that, that we can cure now. And yeah, most of that did happen in childhood. But not all of it. Anyway. I looked in the Palladium and picked it the other day and it does have a lot. Yeah, no, Palladium alignments are just better. They're just better. If you have to have alignments in your game, they're just better. We need to move on, though. Okay. And all I'm going to say is, please keep being autistic in chat. I love it. I love it. Climbing. It's an interesting one because only thieves get it. Thieves and only thieves have the special ability to climb sheer surfaces. However, any character can try to climb more ordinary surfaces. So, a thief can climb a sheer surface. This is like climbing up a wall. Now, is that exactly sheer like an ice sheet? No, but it's not something any normal person can do. Thieves can. You, as a normal person, can climb a tree, a steep hill, a wall with easy handholds. Maybe somebody also, holding up and so forth. Getting the ledge of the window, so to speak, right? But the grout of the stone. Yeah, only a thief can really do that unless that grout is really old and bad and needs to be maintained. Generally, any character in metal armor will not be able to climb well. Characters in leather or no armor should be able to climb easily with only a slight chance of falling. In situations where normal climbing might be attempted, first decide on a base chance of success. For example, if characters seek to spend the night in a tree with many overhanging branches, there might be an 18 and 20 chance of a successful climbing by an unarmored characters. Come on, we all did that as kids, right? A few of us broke our arms. Not me. But I don't know if I'd want to do that at age 51. But you might find their chances slimmer. Oh yeah, those in metal armor such as chainmail might find their chances slimmer in climbing the top. Dexterity checks. So you roll in a dex. Remember we talked about ability checks before. May allow an easy way for DMs to check chance of PCs falling from their perches. Be careful though. If somebody has a 9 dexterity, remember 9 is just on the low end of average. Okay, 9 to 12 is average when you're rolling 3d6, with 10.5 being average. You could say 10 or 11. I like to do the 9 to 12 range as being average. That's the low side of average. But if you do the 1d20 thing, that person has a over a 50% chance of failure. You might want to balance that out a little bit. You can maybe use like a dexterity. You need to roll a 15 or less, add in your dexterity modifiers, the way I've seen people do it. But it's up to you. Or you can just go with it and, the character falls. That's when I definitely say something like the character has an out. You start to slip. Now, I'm not going to give him another die roll. I used to do that in the past. I have occasions where I've done that. But you start to slip. And what does he do to regain it? Does somebody help him? Maybe I'll allow him, quick, what are you doing? He can think of something. And if he doesn't, if he sits there like Malachi in our Codex Albana game, okay, you fell. Whatever chances you decide to use, make note of them so they're applied for future games. Yeah, whatever system you use, just be consistent with it. And a lot of times, gut feeling really works, folks. Remember that falling characters take 1d6 points of damage for each feet fallen. Clues. I'm not going to read this because it's going to start fights. No, I am going to read this because I want to see the fight start. There's a certain segment of people, I'm partially in that group, I straddle it, that are going to be so against what I'm about to read. And then there are going to be some people like, why wouldn't you do this? Where are you? Where do you fit? When it comes to clues, do you agree with what the book says? Do you disagree with it? See what it says, though. Beginning players often need help in learning to play. When running a game for beginners, the DM should encourage them by saying such things like, do you want to search for secret doors? Hey, you're in this room. Hey, do you want to search for secret doors? Or other suggestions. This should not be continued once the players have experience with the game, but such clues can be very helpful to beginners, especially if there isn't an experienced player in there, or you're really adamant about don't tell other people how to play their characters. So keeping his mouth shut, like, oh, I would have searched for a door there. I can't believe you didn't do that. Blah, blah, blah. Well, this is a way of kind of putting that out there. Like, think outside the box. Remember, you're in a fantasy world now. You may wish to allow some automatic success situations to encourage the players. Those who never find secret doors will soon stop looking for them. I love the free league rule. Now, you can't do this in Dungeons and Dragons because it has a very distinct system for secret doors. I love the free league version of secret doors. If the players look in the area, they find it. Don't look in the area, they don't find it. I love that. I really do. I think that makes life simpler. Now, here's something to consider, and I don't know if this one does it like others do, but in most Dungeons & Dragons, there's a difference between concealed doors and secret doors. And this is how it works. A concealed door is that thing with the tapestry in front of it, right? Where you move the desk and underneath there's the trap door. In my mind, if they search the area, they find it. But what about people who get the passive? Those are the ones who be like, hey, I think there might be a concealed door underneath that desk before you move the desk. That's when that's rolled. Secret doors are a little different. Secret doors are the one where you pull the lever over here and the door over there opens up. Okay, so secret doors and concealed doors are different. In Dungeons & Dragons, it's concealed door and they look in the area, they move the tapestry, they find the door. That's just the way I do it. And I love that that's how Free League runs the game as well. It makes sense. But you do have to articulate, I am searching for it. My throat is getting really dry. You may, when the players gain experience with the game, they may start asking questions like, do we find any traces of passing creatures? Or we don't know which way to go from here. Are there any clues? You may offer descriptive information the players will have to determine. Wow, I don't like that sentence. You may offer descriptive information that players will have to determine what it means. I don't like the way these questions are asked personally, but I get it. I would rather, instead of saying, we don't know where to go, are there any clues? I would rather the players say, hey, something like, we're going to go to the library to research rumors. Or if you're out in the wilderness, I'm going to look for tracks. I'm going to look to see if anything up above is odd. I'm going to go see if something has been skimming the top of the trees or whatever. I'm just trying to come up with weird things off the top of my head. It's not working. But you get the idea. I would rather they articulate what they are doing than just say, are there any clues? However, this was mostly talking about new players, so let's be a little forgiving. For example, you could say, as the Dungeon Master, some footprints lead off to the left, but you're not sure what made them. Such clues may help us to steer the party in the right direction within a dungeon. You may insert clues as part of the room descriptions. Clues could be given when a party is approaching a deadly area, especially on the first or second level of a dungeon. Clues such as awful smells or bones of earlier victims warn characters of extreme danger nearby. I don't know, like telling somebody there's a big hole in his chest. If you saw Jesse Ventura in Predator, imagine his hole in the chest, and then maybe your Nethermancer doesn't want to recount that character's death, knowing that you're going to take the damage. I'm just saying. But, you put those clues out there, and then the players do what the players do. See, higher level characters are more accustomed to great dangers, and deeper dungeon levels may indeed contain sudden death situations, save or die type stuff. I'm not against save or die. I don't use a lot of it, but I'm not against save or die type stuff. When I do save or die, by the way, if the characters are able to, if the characters research or scout or whatever, there's always a way around it or to discover that save or die situation. I don't just throw like, well, when they cross this line, everybody just saves or dies. No. What'll be in that case is that somebody will notice something odd about that line before you get there, or there'll be clues leading up to that line. Keep crossing these yellow lines, and magic emeralds light up when you do, but now there's a ruby. Yeah, we cross it. Oh, okay. Disintegration. Or you get what I'm saying. Like, instead of like, whoa, hold on. Maybe the wizard needs to detect magic. Maybe the thief needs to detect trap. Maybe, hold on, I think we got a resource here. What is this? Something that they can come up with. So there's always an out. But save or die is a thing. If adventuring was easy, everybody would do it. Vague or misleading clues may be provided by treasure maps found or purchased, or by slight, hard to find indications in the dungeon areas. In general, when the players become more experienced, the clues may become fewer and more subtle. So really, that was focused on new players. But I'm not against that concept. Remember, you're playing a game. You're not reenacting a movie. You're not memorizing a play that you're given. You're playing a game. And yes, asking too many questions can harm immersion, but it's a game, and if you forget that, then you're just LARPing. And I'm accused of LARPing all the time as well. Creating characters, let's see, damage some magic items. We're going to skip a lot of this now. I kind of want to give you a feel of what was in here. I did say, actually, in a previous video, we talked about demi-human clan relics. We're just going to look at one. Where is it? The halfling, because I thought it was weird. So the halfling relic, a crucible of black flame, rests in the heart of every halfling clan's stronghold. Black flame is like normal flame in reverse. It burns ashes and leaves whole items. Say what? The crucible, a truncated pyramid-shaped wooden container. Truncated pyramid. Oh, it's pyramid with its top cut off. I'm thinking, did they mean ziggurat? No. It's just a pyramid with its top cut off. May be used to create the fabulous web of shadows and the extremely rare oil of moonlight described later. A crucible may only be left unattended if an entire halfling clan is destroyed. If any non-halflings possess a crucible, most halfling clans hearing of it will offer to buy the crucible for 10,000 gold pieces or more. Well, now you got your adventure. Go steal a couple of those and go get rich. Or 100,000 gold pieces or more if it contains black flame. If the finder refuses to sell it, the clan may employ thieves to steal it. Well, they are halflings. Or may even assemble or hire an army to retake it. I mean, come on, it's a halfling army. I'm not really worried about it. As they consider the crucible to be property of the halflings and halflings alone. How come nobody ever spurgs out about that when I say that halflings are worthless? And I'm like, what's a little short 3-foot pudgy person going to do? I'm not afraid of that army at all. You know what their slingers can do? They can absolutely mess you up, but nobody cares. But I mess with tieflings and oh my god. Maybe it's because it's true. Maybe halflings aren't. However, if the finder sells it to the halflings for 50% of the amount offered or less, the clan buying the crucible will award the title of honorary clan member to the person selling it, if he did not destroy the clan that originally owned the crucible. Oh, so you can't destroy it, sell it back to him at half price, and then get awarded for it. All right. And it talks in here about more about the crucible and actually all the relics, right? Doors, open doors abilities. Let's just look at the open doors ability. A stuck door can be forced open by any character. Forced open means you ram your shoulder into it. The player says, I'll open the door, roll 1d6. If the result is 5 or 6, the door is successfully forced open. The roll should be modified by the character's strength score adjustment, but roll 6 should always open a stuck door. The attempt may be made once per round per character. However, if the first attempt fails, monsters on the other side of the door cannot be surprised. They have heard the noise. That makes sense. It's just the point of this right here, and I'm not reading all the door stuff, is just to say, hey, there isn't a rule that necessarily covers everything. There are going to be things that you're going to want to do, especially in a dungeon or breaking down. Maybe a house is on fire and you want to break it open. You don't really have a rule for that. You could do an ability check, but there is an open doors ability right here. Talks about secret doors. And you know what? Since we did mention secret doors in a moment ago, let's actually read this. Any character may search for secret doors. The player must describe the exact area being searched. This takes about 1 turn for each 10 by 10 area searched. If a player says, my character will look for secret doors, roll a d6. You should always roll. That's you as the, not saying you, but that's because we're in the Dungeon Master section. So it's the Dungeon Master should always roll, whether a secret door is there or not, to keep the players guessing. If there's a secret door and the result is a 1, the character has found the secret door. Elves find it on a 1 or a 2. I hate this puritanical thing. I've been grumpy now. I hate this puritanical thing. No, the Dungeon Master should always roll in front of players. No, the Dungeon Master should not always roll in front of players. Now, if that's how you want to run your game, I don't have any issues with it. 0 issues with it if you want to run your game and you roll all your dice in front of the players. I hate this little puritanical nonsense that has really been creeping up in some circles. Like, well, you're not a good dungeon master if you hide your dice rolls. No, you're not a good dungeon master if you don't hide your dice rolls. Like, I can just play that game by just reversing it. So really, there is no argument to be made there. It's just a matter of taste. I roll behind a screen for everything. Every now and again, I'll be like, all right, I'll even roll this one in front of you. Let's see what happens. It's not a matter of trust, because I just figure this. If you don't trust me, don't join my game. It's that simple. If you don't trust me as the dungeon master, don't join my game. There you go. Have I ever fudged dice rolls in my life? Yes. Is it something I do now? No. That was an issue of youth, an issue of inexperience. But no, I'm not going to roll dice in front of the players. Well, I don't believe you got that. I don't care what you believe. I'm the dungeon master. Anyway, once the secret door has been found and its exact location out on the map, anyone reading that map can find the secret door later. No roll necessary. A secret or hidden door may not be opened until it has been found. And it talks about other things like doors that can only be run in one direction, the haste spell and everything it does to your character, because it can be overpowered. Listening for noises. This one's actually kind of an interesting one. I remember reading this one. This one's a little bit interesting because I don't want to say I got it wrong, but I think even I didn't fully get the implications of this. I used it a little differently, and I know that people I've talked to in the past don't see this the same way as what's written here. So any character may listen for noises. This occurs most often at doors, but may occur anywhere. For a character to attempt listening, the area must be quiet as to result in any success. So yeah, it's like, near a waterfall, for example, listening is nearly impossible. If the area is quiet, all characters must also be quiet to have any success. Guess what? You won't be in a big fight, within 5 feet. This means everyone must stop and wait while one or more characters listen, because armor, weapons, and other items make noises when characters are moving. If any player says, I'll listen for noises, roll 1d6. You, the DM, should always roll whether or not there's anything to hear to keep the players guessing. If the result is a 1, or a 1 or 2 for a dwarf, elf, or halfling, of course, because apparently it's all that pointed ear nonsense that they got makes them hear better. The character will hear any noise being made if conditions permit success. If conditions permit success. First or second level thief has the same chance to hear noise as a demi-human. As he gains more levels, the thief becomes more adept at hearing noises. I don't remember reading that in the thief description. I may have just forgotten. But I'm glad this is here. If it isn't there, because a thief should have a higher chance, because that's part of his job, is to listen for noises. And no, this didn't say the things that I thought it was going to say, so apparently what I thought it said, it didn't say, so there you go, we just read some rote rules. Magic user spell choice talks about how you can start the game off with wizard spells, what happens when you lose a spell book. Mapping a dungeon is one of the biggest problems for beginning players. This is true. Do I want to talk? You know what? Yeah, because this is not really done a lot anymore. So I think this is something to actually read for the importance of like old school games. You can make it easier by following some simple guidelines. Describe areas clearly and accurately. If you make a mistake, tell the players right away and make necessary corrections. I kind of disagree with that, but I also kind of agree with it. You've got to be accurate enough that they can make the map and have it make sense. But somebody like me, I don't give specific distances unless it's something that they know. You've been in 15, not even 15. You've been in 3 or 4 rooms now that are exactly 10 by 10. Yeah, I'll tell you this room's 10 by 10. Or it's another room that's the same size as the ones that you've been looking at. I have no issues doing it, okay? But if you come into a room that's fairly big, or maybe shaped differently, I honestly don't know how big this master bedroom that I stream out of is. Say that's approximately 15. Another, no, it's not as tall as me. 4 feet after. That makes sense, because that's probably a foot-ish there. Anyway, but I would say something like, hey, it's 5 paces across, or it's 5 to 7 paces across, until you take the time to quote-unquote measure it. If you know that your pace is approximately 3 feet, and I'll give you that, I'm not going to be like, well, your pace might be, no. But if you take the time to pace through it, but remember, that opens you up to traps. That opens you up to noise, opens you up to combat, that opens you up to some different things. But once you take the time to actually, hold on, I want to actually take the time to figure how far across is. If it's a small room, it'll be pretty quick. If it's something big, You know, a concert, you get into a concert hall, 200 feet across or something. I'm not going to tell you it's 200 feet across. I'm just not going to do it. But it's got to be accurate enough where they can, you know, get it on the map. So, also, I love it when their maps don't match mine. But obviously, they're still close enough that they can get through it. I think it's kind of neat. Use the same terms in descriptions and try to describe room details. Be careful not to be boring about details. You don't have to be J.R.R. Tolkien. But yes, give good room details. In the same order each time. That can be boring, but I get why they're saying it here. They're saying it for the purposes of mapping. So, players become familiar with certain off-used terms, they can map more easily. Some common terms for corridors are side patch, passage or side road, four-way intersection, T-intersection. These are all terms I think we've all used in the games before. So the standard description at the start of adventure for corridors, rooms, walls, other typical features. For example, if you start by saying a standard corridor is 10 feet wide, 10 feet high, you can simply say standard corridor instead of describing it each time. You know, some people argue, well, that's just boring. Some people be like, oh my God, please stop with all the description. Really, it depends on your group. I like a dungeon master who keeps things consistent so I know that I'm in the same size of hallway. Or you're feeling a little cramped, yet it was still the same size. Wait, what? Standard walls might be made of stone blocks, each 2 feet long and 1 foot tall. Mortared on all sides, and no further wall description is needed unless it differs from the standard. I probably wouldn't even personally go into that. Maybe I would. Maybe once or twice. I would note the difference between, say, human construction and dwarven construction, though. Or ancient construction and modern construction. In my module that I wrote for Forbidden Lands, I did that. I didn't say like what the mortar was, but I definitely said, you can tell that this is more modern construction. Oh, this looks like ancient dwarven construction. And there's even, if you have a dwarf in the party, he can point that out to the group. So I'll do things like that. When you design your own dungeons, use straight corridors and square rooms at first. You may try other shapes, twisted corridors, when you and the players are more experienced. But even then, it will still slow down the game. There's some truth to that. I don't worry about that. I think things that are game-related don't slow down the game. Initiative rolls do not slow down the game, because it's literally the game. Mapping, if you're playing in an older school game like this, does not slow down the game, because it's literally part of the game. Now, if the player's like, hold on here, you said it's 200 feet across, but this doesn't seem to fit, you know, whatever. Well, that's on you, dude. You're the one drawing the map. This is what it looks like to you. I'm not going to give you an overlay of my map to yours. Told you what the rooms were. That's what you wrote down. We're moving on. But other than that, no, taking the time to do stuff like this, I think it just makes sense. You know, Heathen Dog talks about always having chalk to mark the walls. Yeah, if you don't mark the walls, you better have a good map. So, multiple characters, we're not going to talk about that. New items and monsters, it talks about how you can introduce those. Overusing dice, basically it says don't roll dice to tie your shoe. You know, the modern concept of it is if the outcome is unknown and that success or failure, that unknown outcome is meaningful, then roll dice. If the outcome is known or the result is not meaningful at all, then don't roll. Just say you succeed or you fail. I jumped to the moon. Well, that outcome is known. No, you don't. Shut up. I jump up and grab the chandelier. Why? Because it seems like it'd be fun to do. Great, you do it. I don't have to roll? No. No. You can do things like that. You know, if the character isn't under duress, just go with it. Reality shifts. All right, what's this? This I actually don't even know what it's saying. DM may occasionally decide to change the procedure that has been used in many previous games. Rule changes and... Oh, okay, so this is house rules. Rule changes and additions can usually be introduced by some logical means, such as finding a new spell on a long-forgotten scroll, or a magic weapon could be stolen by NPC thieves to remove it from play. I would tell you that's kind of being a dick DM, and it's very cliche to do that now, but sometimes that's what you have to do. Somebody said acidic rain in chat earlier. There you go. Sometimes a change cannot be logically explained. For broad and basic rule changes, work with your players to develop a logical explanation. Look, guys, your third level, and I accidentally forgot to take out the Staff of the Magi. I don't want you using the Staff of the Magi at this level in the game. Yeah, we got to come up with some reason why it's not working, and I don't just want to steal it from you and say no, you can't use it. So let's come up with something between us and you guys why it's either not working or isn't going to be as powerful or whatever. You can sit there and do that. I mean, theoretically, you're the dungeon master. You could just have it taken away. You could have something that devours magic. Just eat it. It's kind of a dick move, but you could do that. Or you could work with your players, and maybe you come up with saying like, hey, you can only use it once per adventure because the magic involved with it, maybe it has to somehow take some of your magic from you. So the way that works, where high-level magic user doesn't notice it, but you're low level, so you can only use it once per adventure. Maybe things like that. I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying come up with something. Wow, I didn't really think that the Sword of Doom was going to be that powerful or cause that many headaches for me to give you guys encounters. There are things that you can come up with. Normally I say just roll with the punches. You made your bed, you lie in it, but I can understand on occasion. Do this. Reality shift means the DM and the players have decided that they want to play the game by different rules. Do not try to replay past events or adventures that may have hinged on the changed rules. Either reconsider the result of such encounters or just ignore the past completely. Avoid reality shifts whenever, but yeah, absolutely. Oh, that didn't happen. It was just a dream sequence. Don't do that stuff. Oh my God, don't do stuff. I talked about record keeping in here, timekeeping. By the way, you can put some of this on the players. It gives you a generic timetable, which I think is really good. You could easily do 30 days in a month, 31 days a month, but if you want to just make life simple, here you go. 6 turns. So, okay, turns are 10 minutes. There we go. One of the videos that we did today, I think I couldn't remember if it's 10 or 15. This right here clearly states that it's 10. So I love using little things like this. Nice, simple 360-day year instead of 360 was a 4.22 or whatever we happen to be. Yeah, to some degree it means retcon. Retiring characters, we actually, we have a whole Friday night stream about that. Record sheets. I'm going to tell you something about record sheets and me. You are going to use the character sheet I tell you to use. Okay, you can have your own, I don't care. But the official one, whatever that happens to be, that's the one that I count. So if you only wrote that you got a piece of equipment on your little special one, but not on the official one, then no. And I say that because I oftentimes need to look at a character sheet, and if you've got attributes and skills and whatever else, and then somebody else has got weapons and armor and notes and so forth, I can't find what the hell needs to be found. So I usually create my own character sheets for the game. I do let players come up with their own as long as they follow my format, but I also warn characters, and this is another one that's going to get people spun up but don't care, that character doesn't belong to you, it belongs to me. If I'm running the game, it belongs to me. You can make a copy of it, but when your character dies, you will give it to me. If that is something you cannot do, then you will not be at my table. If you think you're going to trick me on that one, you're out of your mind. So, yeah. But I think we looked at character sheets really early in this video series. I can't remember. So, but yeah, there has to be uniformity in this so that that it's easy to find the information. And for me as the game master, if I didn't write down something pertinent because I usually have aspects of your character sheet. Retiring characters. For a variety of reasons, player or the DM may decide that a character should be retired. A player may lose interest in a character. I don't like that one personally, but I get it. The DM might then make the character an NPC and have him reappearing during later adventures. That character might still rise in levels, but at a lesser rate of experience progress. Discarded characters who have fully developed in the past are ideal for new players who want to play established characters in a campaign. I've done that, but I prefer to actually just use them as NPCs. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just change the name too, so that I don't have to use your character. I just have your stats. Makes my life a lot easier. DM may decide that a character is no longer suitable for a particular campaign due to an excess of money, items, or power or some other reason. Before retiring the character, the DM should discuss the problems with the player and try to find alternatives. Yeah, I think we kind of talked about that a little bit ago. I don't have this problem because I keep you poor. Usually, and people don't really complain. They complain at first, but they don't complain long term because they realize that I'm not screwing them over. Like, it's not like, ha 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 ha, you have no money, you can't fight any of the monsters or do anything. I don't do that. I just want purchases. When you go shopping for adventuring gear, especially, things like armor and spells and so forth, I want it to be something, do we want a spell or do we want better armor? That's the way I do it. And no, I don't give out magic items like they're candy. You treasure your magic items. But remember that a properly played but too powerful character may be suitable for another DM's campaign. Oh, special character. Okay, how much of this do I really want to read? We got blindness, we got deafness, invisibility, paralysis. Prone characters, got rules for that, +4. Sleep and unconsciousness, stunning. I think we will read stunning. Starving and dehydration. Again, sorry, I'm not going to read every little thing that's in this. How far does this go, by the way? I'm getting close to being done. Okay. We will look at stunning, because a lot of times people attack to stun. Certain types of spells, attacks, or magical effects can stun a character. The duration of the stun is determined by the type of attack. Description of each type of attack that can stun will describe its duration. A stunned character suffers the following penalties. Okay, so you hit somebody with the flattened side of the sword, or you punch them and you kind of knock them into la-la land for a moment there, right? The stunned character cannot attack anyone for the first turn he is stunned. Turn? Turn, really? 10 minutes? Or does this mean round? It says turn, and turn is a very specific term in Dungeons and Dragons. Stunning again? Spells, attacks, can stun a character. Okay, so this is more on the magical spells and attacks. Okay, so this almost looks like knocking somebody out. Description attack that will stun. Okay. Okay, well, let's go on here. Let's go on. After first turn, he's at -4 to hit until the stun wears off. So if you're stunned for 30 minutes, I'm just throwing that number out there. The first 10 minutes, one turn, you're going to not, a stunned character cannot attack anyone. After that, for the last 20 minutes, you can do it at -4. He moves at 1/3 normal movement rate for whatever speed he's attempting. That's because you're like, stomping around. Suffers +4 penalty to his armor class. Oops, I'm sorry. Suffers -4 to all saving throws. That's because you're not doing much to get out of the way. Suffers +4 penalty to armor class because remember, higher armor class is worse in old school Dungeons and Dragons. He cannot concentrate, cast spells, or use magic items. Cannot use general skills. That's ones that require rolls. And any weapon mastery your character possesses above basic level is reduced to basic level. And that would be obviously for the last 20 minutes of the example that I gave. Where you're at that -4 to hit. So those are pretty, wow, that's rough. Honestly, that's rough. Even for a high-level character, that's rough. The cleric spell Cure Light Wounds can be used to remove the stun effect, but will not cure any damage when used for this purpose. Okay. So it can be used to cure paralysis or cure stun. All right. So, starvation table. There you go. You lose 1d2 hit points per day. Well, that means that a high-level character can live for like 2 months. Yeah, maybe. Well, it wouldn't be 2 months, but you get the idea. Well, actually, I guess it could be. Thief abilities, transferring characters. Oh, that's let me come to you. Oh, game for. I just say no to that. Okay, and monsters is next. Transferring characters is when you bring a character from another game master world. See anything in here I care about the thief? Player transfer skill. Fail the temple often simply have no result. So if you fail a thief skill, fail the temple often have no result. The thief will know, for example, that the lock has not been opened, that no traps are found, that the wall was not climbed, and so forth. However, a failed attempt to remove trap may set the trap off. DM's decision. I like that as a threat, that it sets the trap off. I don't like it as an automatic. I'm trying to remember how I did it in my 2nd edition games, and I think because I changed all the time, I never really had a coherent methodology for it that I'm remembering anyway, because I remember that failures had a certain chance that I also used a system where if you failed, and something about the person's dexterity as well added into their It's set off the track. I don't remember. I just don't remember off the top of my head. It's been so long since I've run AD&D second edition like that. But I had different methodologies to see if it would set off the trap or not. Not as an automatic. If I remember correctly, the second edition rule is it automatically sets it off. Somebody can correct me on that one. It's been a long time since I've actually done that. But I didn't like that it always set it off. So I had a default chance, and off the top of my head, I'm not remembering what I usually used. That's kind of surprising because I remember almost all of my house rules. Attempts to move silently or hide in shadows abilities always seem successful to the thief. Only a DM knows for sure, based on the result of the roll. So get the idea there. All right, we skipped a lot of this, and I always get somebody that comments like, "I thought it was a read through. You didn't read through everything." Well, if you didn't read through that, you could skip some of the stuff in some of the other chapters you do. The point of not reading through everything here is not all this is really, really important to get across, other than to say, hey, it's here. Take a look at it. You can kind of get an idea of how, of what it's offering you, and it's time to move on. Just like the next section. Next section's on monsters. We're not going to read every monster. We're going to pick a few of them. That's it. We're just going to pick a few of them, give you an idea of what it looks like. Where is a monster? Well, we're definitely going to read that beginning part, but then we'll get to the monster and we'll say, okay, this is what armor class 3 means. This is what hit dice and 2 asterisks means. Yada yada. When we get there. So, but that'll be next week once Heathen Dog is back. All right, let me take a look at the comments. I'm sure I got some more grumpy ones in there. Love to make you guys grumpy. But when you're grumpy, that means you're paying attention. So you know what? It's all good. Oh, wow. A lot. Yeah, okay, so there we go. Huffing the players die in your game. Okay, I kind of mentioned that one already. Someone in the medieval age. Okay, that one. Exploding damage plus death saves. Sounds like. I love exploding damage. I'm a huge fan of exploding damage. I don't like games where somebody can say, "Oh, well, I can take a sword hit. That won't kill. Sword can't kill me." I really don't like those. But if I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, I'm going to use the Dungeons and Dragons rules. Otherwise, some changes that you make become other games, or just become a different game. Say. Let's see. I think alignment stop making sense beyond point alignment. After that's just player personality. Well, that's what. So that's what Palladium did with alignment. Is it really based off psychology? It's more of a personality, psychological trait. That's why they work so well. And look, growing up with 5 siblings, they've shown me all the stupid ways you can break a bone. Wow. Analar. Including 2 siblings getting an argument on who carries the trash bag out and one breaking the other's arm. Wow. Just wow. But yeah, no, I get it. I've heard, you're not the first person to say something like that. Hell no, Max is at my age now. I can't even climb stairs. Oh, let alone trees or walls. Oh, that's fair. I don't know how well. I'm scared of heights. That's my problem. And as I've gotten older, it's actually gotten worse. So, yeah, it's a little weird for me to like climb a tree or whatever. I know I could do it as a kid. Role-playing out how you get into the tree and secure yourself might negate the roll entirely. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Let me put that one on the screen. Oh, God, I got to find it. Let me put that on the screen. This isn't for everybody. But this is definitely something I agree with. Hell is that comment? There you go. There you go. Boom. Role-playing out how you get into the tree and secure yourself might negate the roll entirely. Yeah. Yep. Or make it only so you only fail on a 20 or something like that. Absolutely. Or give you a +3 bonus to your roll. By the way, I skipped that section a little bit, but that's written in the book. That's written in that Game Master section that you. I thought that was after a skill roll failure. Wait, what do we... Wait. Just jump again? Yes, it did. Now I'm looking over here. Oh, no, actually it is right. I thought that was after a skill roll failure. I don't know what that was pertaining to, so I apologize. Yes, you do resemble that remark. Yeah, again, if you look at the poll, Malachi, you probably have. I don't know for sure, but I know you're somebody who's a little bit more active in the comment section. But if you look at the polls that I put out there, if YouTube isn't hiding them, I've had a few people tell me, what comments you talking about? YouTube's hidden. I'm like, I see 8 comments. But then sometimes somebody will be like, you didn't respond to me. I mean, I don't see your comment. YouTube gets weird about what it blocks and what it doesn't block. And sometimes it'll block it for a couple of days and then it'll appear. I don't know. Anyway, there are 3 or 4 of those polls that I put out there. Is like, oh, you're just mocking people now. Or, you know, I've seen the one that I posted on Discord the other day was, oh, I've seen this creator put up a couple of polls and they're all just insulting. Like, calm down, people. Stop taking your life so seriously, or games that so seriously. And yes, sometimes people say that to me as well. I get it. You know, pot calling kettle black type stuff does happen. Yes. Maybe I'm a little autistic too and I just don't know it. Let's see. It was Professor, and so with the candlestick in the library, somebody's playing Clue, I see. Professor Plum, Colonel Mustard. I enjoyed GMing much more ever since we agreed to stop asking GM questions and just acting in character. I think you guys are too hardcore about that. I get the point. And I think to some degree, I actually agree with you. I think you guys get a little bit too puritanical about that. That's what I always said to Shauner, is I get what you're going for. For me, my groups usually did that. My players usually did that. Well, instead of asking, can I talk to somebody, just talk to the person. But sometimes there's information that I didn't divulge well enough as the game master. It happens. I don't, whether you consider me a great game master or the worst game master, I consider myself a good game master, not a great game master. Definitely not a poor game master. I wouldn't have kept games going on as long as I did. But I make mistakes, and sometimes people have to get clarification. And I'm okay with them getting the clarification as long as they're not just diving into every level. Is there a Q key on the keyboard? Stop it, you know. But I get what you guys are striving for, and I don't have a problem with that. The more you can lean in that direction, I support. But just encourage Chief what you want to do. I seek the floor and the walls for clues of danger. Yeah, but I mean, what would happen in my groups is somebody be like, well, how do you define danger? Are you looking for a trap, or are you looking for a magic item? I was like, oh, you know, and so to alleviate some of that, I'm more of a generalist when it comes to that. I only get really specific when they are doing really specific stuff, but it's just some of the game masters that I've seen or played with. Oh no, it's the dreaded halfling army attacking us. Yeah, right. A door that is stuck in is a nice tool to add tension if something else is going on. Say 100%. Oh, another thing I will do, and the game didn't say this, but I'll use timer dice. And one of the ways you can use a timer die is to roll like a D4, and let's say you get a 3. And just know it's going to take 3 hits to get this door open. So, boom. Didn't seem to budge much. Might have jarred a little bit, but didn't seem to budge much. Who knows? You know, don't tell them, yes, if you keep doing this, it will open. But also don't tell them, didn't move at all. You can't do anything. Give them just a little bit to be like, well, I'll try again. Oh, okay. You heard a squeak as it moved a little bit more. And then boom, that third, boom, you do that third one, it opens. And, you know, but behind there are the orcs with spears ready to go because you can't surprise them. Because, yeah, I like doing things like that. Running full roll of fun of players or not should really depend on the player. Should depend on the group, absolutely. I don't care. See, here's the thing, is people keep acting like I hate people that do that. I don't. Malachi, you know some of these people. They bust my balls about this. Like, no, I don't. I don't hate that you do that or believe that is the right way to play. Do it. Have fun with it. Stop acting like that is the right way to play. Just, you know, use that puritanical word again. Stop being so puritanical about it. Rolling dice in front of players 100% of the time, in my mind, is stupid. Don't do it. I roll for many, many reasons that I don't want the players to know about. Could be weather changes. It could be I'm rolling the random encounter now so I can prepare just a little bit sooner, you know, for when they have it. It could be many different reasons as to why I'm rolling. I don't have to explain why I'm doing it or show them. If it's combat, I mean, could you argue, well, you should do combat in front of the players? You know, okay, maybe. You know, but I'm kind of puritanical on the other side. I'm the game master. I roll behind my screen. You roll in the open. And by the way, I do bring a dice tray and cups that people have to use as well, because I actually had friends, you guys have heard these stories a lot, that knew how to load dice by actually filling them with things like lead and so forth. So no, or I had this guy, I'm telling you, he could do a D10s even. He sounded like he was shaking his hand, but he'd get whatever number he wanted, just pop on the table. He actually showed me how he did it. I could never figure it out. My hand did not do that like his did. But so no, you roll in a cup and you roll in my dice tray, and I roll behind the screen. That's, if you don't like that, leave my table. If I don't like the fact that you're rolling in front of everybody, I'll leave your table. I wouldn't do it because I don't care that much, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I think it's all up to the group. Just whatever your group wants to do. If you're used to rolling everything in front of the players, I don't begrudge you at all. Play, have fun. Rolling openly is a tool I deploy for convention games. Oh, that makes sense. I can't vet the players, so it's a sign of trust from, again, I can understand the reasons for it. Probably, yeah, because for a one-shot, I don't really have too many things that are going on behind the scene. So for a convention-style play where you're really just trying to do some action and keeping them... I could see that. Cat, don't trust me as a GM. You'll not enjoy my story that you are supposed to be helping develop. Yeah. Yep. Break the fourth wall to help the players get on board the changes. That's fair. Oh, yeah, with the changes, that's fair enough. Yeah, but again, I don't see it as acting. Yes, I'm in character, and to some regard I am act, but I don't see this as acting like in a play or in a movie or even in a book, even though I compare games to books. One of the things, because you're a 4D guy, right? One of the things Shauna and I completely disagreed on was that he wanted everything to be like you find in a movie. I would counter like, no, I want everything to be like I find in a book. So why is it okay for long combats? Because when I'm reading combat now, somebody can say, well, Conan didn't have long combat. I get that. But in a lot of novels, combat takes 3, 4, 5 pages. It's okay for it to take some time. I want it to be more like a book, and then a trilogy, and then a decalogy, and then, an entire series of stuff as my character grows over time. I don't want to do a bunch of 2-hour one-shot movies. If that's what you want to do, and I'm not saying you, I was talking with him on this, then go and do that. So a little bit of time taken away. It's like, hold on, wait a second. Why is this happening? Or wasn't there this other thing going on? I have no problems with that, as long as it just isn't excessive. So, but different strokes for different folks. I know I'm 3D, not 4D. Record sheets to avoid confusion at the table. If GM doesn't know what the fuck you down because you want to be special, it's useful. Right. Also, again, this goes way back to my past. I've witnessed people cheating and writing stuff on their character sheet they didn't have, stuff like that. I don't remember that ever happening in the game I ran, but I know it happened in the groups I was playing in. I have to look that up, but some adventures it will state failed to remove traps. Yeah, okay, so we're at the remove traps. Yeah, sure. Sometimes it will say it, with regard to the trap. Sometimes it'll say it with regard to the rule. Absolutely understand that. I think what this book was trying to say, though, is like, it's up to you as the dungeon master. Don't be a jerk about it and have them all blow up. But sometimes, every now and again, it's like, it's fun to remind them, oh, look at the danger here, right? So you didn't disarm the trap. It didn't go off. Can I try again? Maybe. Honestly, anytime somebody tries again, I'd give a penalty. You already tried once. Now it's gonna. Now you're taxing your knowledge already. That's if you can even do it. Sometimes you have to reorder the comments. It jumps. Sometimes it jumps on me. It like pops. Like you're always mocking me. Well, yeah, good. I mean, you should be mocking me. And you know what's funny? You guys could be trolling me too. This is going to make Max get angry, so I'm just going to say it. I get it. And you know what? That victory goes to you. Turnabout's fair play. I get it. We're good. As players roll randomly, sometimes for something, sometimes for... Yeah, me too. I love my favorite thing to do, and people have stolen this from me, and I know I'm not I learned it from somebody else, so I know I'm not the only person to do this. I love writing a note. Let's say to... Who did I say in the chat? We got Zonalar, right? I write a note to Zonalar telling him something that he sees, and if he wants his character to tell everybody, he can or not, right? Just as an example. And then he decides to tell them, oh, hey, guys, come over here. I found the treasure. Whatever, right? But then I'll write a note to Raven's Lair. hey, this note is bullshit. Just do me a favor, smile, look at one of the other PCs, and then crumple it up. And then Raven Slayer looks over. Yeah. And then also plays, I'm checking my backpack, I'm checking my pants. Oh, what's around? Because of metagaming. I don't do that a lot, but I do it enough that where it's like, so when I pass a note to somebody, they're just like, whatever. It gets to, and that's what I want. I want it to get to the point of where it's like, whatever. So, yeah, but Malachi, you have to come up with something new. Just like Bear, I think, needs to come up with something new about you. You know? I mean, this one's tired. Seraphis has to come up with something new also. Seraphis, you're watching, I'm telling you. You know, you could still use the same trope by saying something like, forged, what are they called? Forged are better than obsidian or whatever the hell those things are. Anyway, that's the chat. I appreciate that. You know, I went through a lot of the chat here. For the people who are watching on the video later, they're gonna be like, "Wow, that took forever. Why'd you do all this?" Because I can, and it's a live stream. Like I told people at the beginning of this live stream, we do long form we do content. There's the word. We do long form content, not quick videos. We do have a few videos out there that are straight to video, but that's just not our thing. And part of live streaming to me is engaging with the chat and talking with the folks out there. I probably could have done this by looking forward, though. I don't need to have my book in front of me. So, oops, I did this completely wrong. See, that's what happens. I screw everything up. Don't let Max touch it. He'll screw it up. All right, well, let me put the subscribe thing up here so I know it's the end of the video. I appreciate that. You know, I'm sure I'm going to get 50 comments in there about how the Middle Ages actually, how long people actually lived in the Middle Ages and so forth. I don't care. Part of my job was to get you spun up over that. I just don't care. I don't care. You can say it 100 times. You can say it a million. You can cite the Guinness Book of World Records, National Geographic, Wikipedia, ChatGPT, your buddy who's an archaeologist. I don't care. I just don't care. But other than that, what do you think of these Dungeon Master tips? Do you think it was good, considering this is Rules Cyclopedia and it is about, a game that's pretty old, do you think that some of those ideas still hold weight today, or do you think there are better ways of doing things? Do you think it should have given more information, even though it's only one book, it's not a series of books as Rules Cyclopedia? Well, just overall, what are your thoughts on the Dungeon Master section? I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you next week when we talk about monsters. Oh, wait, what else? Hold on, I gotta skip a couple weeks here. We're almost getting done. We're gonna be talking about monsters. Oh, and immortals. Actually, 2 weeks left. You're hearing it here first on video, guys. 2 weeks left. Next week is gonna be monsters and immortals, and then the week after that, gonna be planes of existence and variant rules, and then we are done with Rules Cyclopedia. So thank, especially the people watching the live stream, for letting me get through this today. Without Heathen Dog being here, we were able to dive into a lot more. Sorry there wasn't any, back and forth between me and Heathen Dog because of that, but it did allow me to get through a bunch more. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time.